guys, it's Christy, and today I wanted to share with you four of my top tips on how to manage holiday eating. Now, you might be considering having a cheat meal, a cheat day, a cheat week, a cheat month. You might be deciding whether or not to just get back on the wagon after the first of the year, right? Because between Halloween and New Year's, there are lots of landmines. There are uh, trick or treating, there's chocolates, there's parties, there's get togethers, there's all kinds of things, that we have to navigate, that we have to deal with. And so today I wanted to provide again those tips that may help you decide and perhaps even strengthen your resolve and help you survive through them and hopefully even thrive through them. So let's get started. So, my first tip is to know yourself. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's kind of the truth. And what I mean when I say that, though, is if you're one of those people that when you started your plan, you haven't had any struggles. It was just sort of a decision. You made it and you haven't had any cravings. You don't struggle with temptation or anything like that. You've had the occasional, off-plan meal or off-plan treat, and the very next meal, the very next day, you get right back on track. No struggle, no mind games, no cravings, no problem. Then absolutely having a cheat meal or a cheat day or a cheat week might not be such a problem for you. I'll admit you might actually be in the minority, but also congratulations. But if you're on the other path, right, and the other path is the path of struggle, right? You struggle to get on the wagon and stay on the wagon. You're one of those people who has to restart your diet or your way of eating or your plan every Monday because by Tuesday you've fallen off again. Or if, temptations and cravings and substitute foods, cause a cascade of effects that can throw you into back to your old habits, then it's possible that having a cheat meal or a cheat day may not be such a good idea for you because it may have you in an off wagon type situation for days or even weeks or even months. And that may not be something that you really want to risk right now. But let's say that you've decided that you're going to go ahead and have your cheat meal or your cheat item. How can you minimize the damage? And this is something that, these are tips that I would give to anyone, no matter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, or Saturday afternoon. How can you minimize the damage? And that's really, don't go full hog. Don't throw caution to the wind. Don't throw everything out the window. Because, a holiday, a birthday, it's not really an excuse for wild abandon. Stick as close to your plan as you can, as possible, right? So if your plan is currently, 20 carbs, then you can be a little lax with it, right? You can consider 60 carbs or 80 carbs or something like that. You may still have consequences with that increase, but it won't be as bad as if you had just thrown everything out the window and eaten standard American diet, 350, 400 calories or carbs. And then, that's going to be something you're going to feel. Drink extra water. And I know it's so funny because so many people, especially when you're eating outside your norm, you may get a feeling of fullness, a feeling of being bloated. You may not actually feel like you need to drink any extra water. You may get swelling, in your hands, in your feet, in your ankles. And that may seem to you like, okay, I don't want to drink any more water because I already know I'm holding, 2, 3, 5, 7 pounds of water. I don't want to hold any more water. And I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and drink the water. And the reason why is because carbs do take a lot of extra fluid to process. And we want to make sure that you're able to offload that extra water that you do pick up, but also we want to make sure that your gut, right, your intestines have enough fluid in them to go ahead and process these what are going to be foreign items out as quickly as possible. Make sure that you still get your electrolytes. You might be able to get away with less salt, depending on the foods that you eat, but you might actually want to increase your magnesium, especially if you're eating particularly sugary foods. That will throw your internal electrolytes off. You may get leg cramps and those kinds of things before the end of the day. If you drink your magnesium or take magnesium, that should alleviate that, right? You won't wake up in the middle of the night with Charlie horses. But it'll also help you process through, right? That'll decrease the transit time between here and the back end. And so that'll also minimize some of the damage. Consider working out before you go to your event or the day after. And the reason why I suggest this is probably not what you would think. It's not because I want you to create some sort of calorie deficit that then you can eat more. It's actually because depending on how hard you work out, and we don't want you to work out too hard, activity, right, like a brisk walk, has a tendency to dampen the appetite, right? So you'll get some appetite diminishing effects if you'll go for a walk before your event. Now, on the other side of your event, if you've had lots of carbs, now that's when you would want to do your heavy lifting, or going for a jog or going for a bike ride, right? Something a little bit more strenuous, even your longer events. And when I say event, like a longer jog or a longer ride or a longer rowing session, because you'll have all of that extra blood, all of that extra sugar, glucose in your blood, and that'll just be fuel. And if you have that fuel, might as well burn it up as quickly as possible. So just keep that in mind. One of the ways that you can help yourself when you go to the event or gathering or get together, whatever party, whatever it is to make sure that you don't go hungry. Now, everybody says that, and I want to explain why. If you were to go to the event hungry, right, your blood sugar drops. When your blood sugar drops, it creates an anxiety sort of event, right? A panic that creates sugar cravings. And there you'll be surrounded by all the most inappropriate foods. So before you go to your event, make sure that you eat some sort of fat, some sort of protein, right? Something that will keep your blood sugar even and stable so that you will not have that blood sugar drop, and therefore not have, a resulting sugar craving because of that. And I understand that if you're on keto, you might have this tendency to believe that you don't have blood sugar drops. That's not true. You still have blood sugar drops. Your blood sugar is always in flux. It's just that your ups and your downs are hopefully in a smaller range. But as you know, you become more sensitive to both the sugar that you intake, but also insulin. And that may make you a little bit more sensitive to the sugar that you may eat at your cheat meal, but also to, dips, especially if you are eating outside your normal times, if you're not doing intermittent fasting, something like that, right? So just make sure that you go to your event not starving. When you're at your event, your gathering, your party, be selective, because not everything that's there is going to be worth it. If you don't like, green bean casserole, then don't eat it. If your most favorite thing there is, grandma's sweet potato casserole, then, maybe you have a spoonful of that. And that's actually another tip to minimize the damage, is just because you have it doesn't mean you have to have all of it. Just because you get a slice doesn't mean you have to eat all of that slice. You can always take a bite or two and throw the rest out. So the third tip I have is, and this is kind of a rough one for a lot of people, is to accept the consequences. And when I say that, it's because what you put in your mouth is always a choice, right? You guys have maybe heard me joke before, you know, no brownie, no ice cream, no cake, no chocolate, no donut has ever held a gun to your head and said, eat me or die. And departing from your normal ways of eating, even a little bit, can sometimes come with some really big consequences. Um, those consequences might be water weight, fatigue, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, skin issues, headaches, cravings that go on for days and days and days and days and days, painful joints. You know, right, better than I do, what you will experience. You know what your reactions are going to be to the things that you eat. If you haven't been eating carbs, you haven't been eating breads and pastas and wheat and gluten and dairy and all of those kinds of things, you may have a very profound response to these foods. And just keep in mind that when you choose to eat one, right? When you choose one, you choose the other. When you choose to eat it, you also choose the consequences. And that's not intended to, sound harsh. It's really just, I want you to be aware. Most people make decisions without thinking about the consequences of their choice. And so with that in mind, the final sort of mindset hack I want to share with you right now. So I want you to realize and understand that this is not your last opportunity to eat this food. If you're going to a Thanksgiving event, a Christmas event, something like that with, friends, family, if it's some sort of traditional kind of thing, chances are this is the same food, the same spread that you guys see every year. And so this is not going to be your last chance to have mom's pecan pie or grandma's sweet potato casserole. So you have to decide what's important to you. Now, when I say what's important to you, I want to be clear because it sounds really judgmental and I get it. There was a reason. There was something that made you get on this path. There was a health scare, or your weight, or your blood sugar, or your blood pressure, or the pain in your joints, or your skin issues, or your digestive issues, or whatever it was. There was something, right, that made you get on this path. You wanted to see your kids graduate. You wanted to see your grandkids graduate. Does it make sense for you to say, yes, that was important to me yesterday, but right now it's not? And that's just a question, right? There's no judgment here. No judgment about your decisions. If you decide to have Thanksgiving dinner in standard American diet fashion for a week, there's no judgment here. Absolutely not. You can do what you need to do. But I want you to have all the tools. I want you to make the best, most conscious, mindful choice that you possibly can. So ask yourself whether or not all of those things are that important, right? And is grandma's sweet potato casserole more important than your health, more important than your blood sugar, more important than seeing your grandkids graduate? Is mom's pecan pie, is that more important than the bloating, the diarrhea, the constipation? Is, that green bean casserole or stuffing, is that more important than the pain in your joints and the fatigue and the headaches or the brain fog, right? So, and I know that sounds really judgmental. It is absolutely not. It's really more about, I want you to think about, start to finish, whether or not this is the right decision for you. And if you decide, yes, absolutely, for today, for this hour, grandma's, I don't know, ambrosia salad is more important, then absolutely, that's fine. Again, no judgment. Embrace it, own it, live it, and do it. And don't regret it. Don't regret it, right? You chose it, you're doing it, and it's awesome. Who's to say that you made the wrong decision? You made the right decision, right? If it's the one for you, it's the right decision. So, again, just wanted to make sure that you have the tools that you need to make the decisions that you want to make. All right, so if you have any questions or concerns or comments, feel free to hit me up. I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving, happy holidays. I hope that you enjoy whatever food you put in your mouth. I hope you enjoy your gatherings and that you are able to enjoy them and find a peace and a community with, your family, your friends that comes without that social lubricant that food often is for us. All right. Again, happy holidays, and I will talk to you guys soon.